This is episode number 230 of the Middle Country Public Library podcast. Yeah, nice number, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Nice round number.
Yes. Hello and welcome. Sal DiVincenzo here with my fabulous colleagues, Sarah Fade and Nicole Rambo.
Hello.
How's everyone doing?
Good.
Good. Everyone's good?
Yes.
So we are in the thick of the summer. We just had our 4th of July holiday, which is great.
Nice.
And you know, we haven't done, and it's a new segment that we have here on the show. It's our This Week in History. And you know, besides independence,
Sure.
Yes.
a lot more has happened this week
Oh, wow.
in history.
I didn't know that.
Is it history in general or just
No,
Jimmy Ward Civil
Well,
War, American history?
You will hear you are going to hear some Civil War here, okay? Yes, because
Because
it is Jimmy.
there's
so,
history everywhere.
Yes.
Just saying.
But mostly in
Yes.
Gettysburg.
Yes, which you are about to hear. So I had Jimmy come down and we talked about we did another This Week in History.
That's cool, though.
Yeah,
That's good.
so here it is. So once again, we're here with Mr. Jim Ward. How are you, Jim?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, and I'm very excited because we have another episode in which we will talk about This Week in History.
So this is actually like the mecca of...
This is a big week.
This is like, for history nerds, Christmas this week.
This is a big week.
It definitely is.
Now, we could obviously talk about the elephant in the room, so to speak, which is, Independence Day.
Yes,
right?
yes.
And I'm sure you're going to mention Independence Day.
Absolutely.
But so many other things happened this week in history.
That's correct. Absolutely.
So why don't we get started? What date you're going to pick first here?
I'm going to start with July 3rd, 1863. That was day 3 at Gettysburg. And this is to give a little background for people if they're not familiar with the battle. The first 2 days, the first day, the South, the Confederates, they pushed the Union through town and had them retreating. But that inadvertently made the Union take the high ground south of town. So on the second day, when the Confederates were trying to attack them, they were repulsed at every location. So on the third day, Lee thought, all right, I've hit the right, I've hit the left. They're probably most vulnerable in the center because they have all their reinforcemements on the wings. So he decided he wanted to hit the center on Cemetery Ridge of the Union line. He had George Pickett, one of the division commanders, be like one of the lead commanders for that attack. James Longstreet, he was like Lee's number 2. He also, it sometimes is called Longstreet's assault because he was the corps commander and overall commander of the attack. But it has, unfortunately for George Pickett, become known as Picketts Charge.
There you go.
So on that day, the Confederates at about maybe 1:00 opened fire with like 100 cannons or something on the Union position at the center of the line. So then, you had Union artillery firing back. So you can only imagine the noise and the chaos of what was going on at that time during the cannonade. Fast forward to about 3:00 that day, Pickett's men, and there were 2 other commanders there too, Pettigrew and I think Trimble was his name. For some reason, it's always just called Picketts Charge. But anyway, they had about 13,000 men that they were commanding overall, and that they marched a mile across the field, open field, to the Union position.
Wow.
And when they reached the Emmitsburg Road at the fence, they pretty much were mowed down. The Union started firing on them. It slowed their march. And then what happened was there was only one portion of the stone wall that was actually breached that day where the Union was. It was called the Angle. It was a little crook in the wall where it kind of like bent. And that was led by Lewis Armistead. He was one of the brigade commanders for Lee. and he had his hat on his sword, trying to urge his men to move forward and take the position. And as they were trying to turn a cannon around on the Union themselves, he was mortally wounded.
Oh boy.
And the ironic thing about that is that he was best friends with the Second Corps commander at that time, who was actually there too, Winfield Scott Hancock of the Union. And so, the two served in Mexico. They served, pre-war and everything. So they had become close friends. And Armistead reportedly had asked, may I see General Hancock? He was then, told that Hancock was himself injured by a shot. And so I think he died about, Armistead, that is. I think Armistead died about maybe 3 days later.
Okay.
And so yeah, it just shows you the brother versus brother, friend versus friend that was going on during the Civil War.
Right. You speak so passionately about anything having to do with Gettysburg. I have to guess that this is a deep passion for you, Jim.
Very much. I have been to Gettysburg. If I say 40 times, I'm not exaggerating. I literally have been there so many times.
It's like a twice a year thing for you, 3 times a year thing?
I try. Well, lately it's been a twice a year thing, but I would like to up that a little more and, try to get there as much as I can. But, it's just when you go there, there's a peaceful feeling, but you can also feel the events that happen there. And it comes alive when you're actually there.
Very wild. So it's no surprise you picked Picketts Charge for
Yes.
your first This Week in History.
Yes. And just because I realized I never actually concluded, so the Confederates were repulsed at Picketts Charge, and they retreated back across the field, and the Union had won their big victory at Gettysburg.
Excellent. And that was July 3rd.
That was July 3rd, 1863.
1863. What else do we have this week happening?
Well, as we know, we do have the 4th of July.
Yes.
So, with how we got to initially trying to just resolve our differences with the crown, as opposed to how we got to then wanting independence. It started, over the years, there were different things that they were doing, the British, that angered the colonists. The intolerable acts. They had taxes on things that the colonists believed they shouldn't be taxed on because they're not represented by the British Parliament. So, that's where taxation without representation comes from. And then you have the British in April of 1775 marching to, I believe it was Lexington. And I think they were looking to arrest Samuel Adams and John Hancock because they were well-known leaders of rebellion. And
Right.
So that never happened. But what did happen was they did reach Lexington, and no one knows who fired the first shot, but whoever did, it started a fight at Lexington, which is now they call it now the shot heard round the world.
Okay.
Then they moved on to Concord from there to try to get some arms and ammunition stashes that the Patriots had. And so when they got there was more fighting, and that pretty much from there on set it on a course to be a military thing, not just coming to a resolution, because then George Washington was given command in June of 1775. You then had Boston, which the British had to evacuate in, I believe it was March of 1776. So by the time we get to, June of 1776, you're basically given, independence has become a stronger view by many people. In mid-June, a 5-man committee, including Thomas Jefferson, John Adams, and Ben Franklin, were tasked with creating a draft, a formal statement of the colonists' intentions. So they started working on that. Then you have Richard Lee of Virginia on July 2nd of 1776. He gets his resolution for independence passed, which ironically is not the day that we celebrate, because it was July 4th that the official Declaration of Independence was adopted by the Continental Congress. But
okay,
when you see what John Adams thought of July 2nd, he thought it would be marked as a national holiday for generations to come. And this is a quote: Independence Day will be the most memorable epica in the history of America. I am apt to believe that it will be celebrated by succeeding generations as the great anniversary festival. It ought to be solemnized with pomp and parade, with shoes, games, sports, guns, bells, bonfires, and illuminations from one end of this continent to the other from this time forward forevermore.
Wow. So he called it.
He called it. He just had the wrong date. So July 4th comes around, they adopt it, and from there it just led to, increase in military action and more, obviously 6 more years of battles, and then they came to the peace treaty where we were finally fully independent and our own nation.
Wow, I really didn't realize it was that long from the time that they signed it to the time that there was resolution.
Yep, it was 76 to 83 when the Treaty of Paris was signed.
Wow. So we got 2 big things.
Yep.
What's your number 3 for this week?
Well, I this one is specifically for you because we are both fans of Back to the Future. And on July 3rd of 1985 is when the first Back to the Future movie.
That's amazing. I had
Isn't that something?
Idea. I had no idea it was like a holiday weekend release.
Yeah. So that from there, then we get our Back to the Future 2 and 3, and oh boy, what a great trilogy that was.
Wow, that's amazing. You said 1985.
Yeah.
Wow.
Isn't that something?
It's just it's crazy to think how long ago that was.
But I mean, that's like one of my favorite movies. I used to watch it all the time as a kid. I couldn't get enough of it.
Oh yeah, no, it's a classic. It's a classic.
Unfortunately, I don't have like little details about the production of the movie. I just thought that was cool that it.
No, it's a cool. Yeah, it happened. Look, this is what it is. It happened this week in history. And I have something else for you, not related to Back to the Future, but kind of related to July 4th and people that were involved with the Declaration of Independence. Okay.
So July 4th. 1826, 50 years after the Declaration of Independence, past presidents Thomas Jefferson and John Adams both die on the 50th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence.
Oh, boy.
At the age of 90, Adams lay on his deathbed while the country celebrated Independence Day. His last words were, "Thomas Jefferson still survives." But he was mistaken because Jefferson had died 5 hours earlier at the age of 83.
Oh, wow. Now, can you imagine now? So what year is this? 1826?
1826, yeah.
83 and 90 years old in 1826?
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Ancient.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what the average age was back then where you lived to, but man, they outlasted a lot of people.
Absolutely.
And I have a few other things that also occurred on July 4th, too. For some reason, July 4th is like the mecca of all, all historical events. So July 4th of 1827, that was the date that's set as the date of final emancipation, making New York the first state to pass a law for the total abolition of legal slavery. So, So slavery ended on July 4th, 1827 in the state of New York. And also, heading a little forward to the Civil War, Vicksburg, Mississippi, which Lincoln saw as what happened is the Mississippi cut the Confederacy in two if it was taken, so they wouldn't be able to get supplies from Mississippi to other areas of the South for their soldiers. And finally, on July 4th of 1863, Vicksburg fell. And Grant was victorious, and Lincoln referred to it as Vicksburg is the key. And basically, when we took it, he said the key is now in our pocket. So that was a devastating blow for the Confederates. Also on July 4th of 1884, I promise things happened later on too. We're gonna get to in 1884, France presented the Statue of Liberty to the United States in Paris.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah, created by sculptor Frederick Auguste Bartholdi. I'm not sure I said that right. The statue was intended as a gift from France to the United States to celebrate a century of friendship between the two countries.
Wow.
And then you also have July 4th, 1939, where Lou Gehrig has his number 4 retired and makes the iconic Luckiest Man speech.
That happened also on the 4th?
On the 4th in 1939.
Wow.
So
it's like a movie. It's like a movie plot line. Like everything revolves around July 4th.
I guess the energies are pushing everything towards that day or something. But yeah, so here's a fun one. So July 7th, 1928, sliced bread is sold for the first time by the Chillicothe Baking Company in Missouri using a machine invented by Otto Frederick Rowetter, described as the greatest step forward in the baking industry since bread was wrapped.
Wow. Best thing since sliced bread.
Yeah, right? And 1928, I don't know why. I would have thought it was earlier that they...
Can you imagine having to cut your own bread before 1928?
That's just lunacy.
The nerve of them not to come up with that sooner.
Also, we'll move a little forward. July 7th, 1958, President Eisenhower signed a bill approving Alaskan statehood.
Oh, okay. Very cool.
July 8th, 1947, the Roswell Army Field issued a press release stating that personnel had recovered a crashed flying disc from a ranch near Roswell. So that was also in this week in July.
Yes. Our first visit from the aliens.
And then, of course, Will Smith and Jeff Goldblum.
That's right.
Defeated them in 1996.
That's the reason why they made the movie that week. They figured, and as part of the anniversary, Of course, they have to acknowledge it. And then the final one that I have here is July 9th of 1868. Okay. The 14th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution was ratified. The amendment defined U.S. citizenship and prohibited individual states from abridging the rights of any American citizen without due process and equal protection under the law. It also barred individuals involved in rebellion against the U.S. from holding public office. So this is after the 13th Amendment in 1865, which abolished slavery. So this one defines citizenship for the newly freed blacks that came after the Civil War. And then the 15th Amendment came later, that the right to vote shall not be denied by race. So it took a few years, but they finally got it where it was intended to create equality for everyone. Wow, what an exciting week this is in history. Right? It's just amazing. And again, I can't believe so many things happened on the 4th. Oh, the 4th is, that first week of July is just something else, I tell you. It's a good thing. It's a good thing. Yeah. And I am glad that was the week that we picked to talk about this month for this week in history. Same here. And Jim, thank you so much for coming down again, chatting with us, and we look forward to your next visit. And, for sure. It's always a pleasure. The next time you give us all these wonderful nuggets of information having to do with history. It is my pleasure. Absolutely. Thanks, Jim. You're welcome. Thank you. Okay, so yes, Gettysburg was right up front. Yeah, so Civil War was right up front. Yeah. And it's not just the 4th of July. It's not just the Independence Day. It's a lot more. Fair enough. Yes, very cool. So that does it for this episode. If you want to listen to older episodes or read our show notes, visit our website, mcplpodcast.com. And look, if you are on YouTube and you're listening to us right now, hit the like button and hit subscribe. Mm-hmm. We want to get to 1,000 subscribers by the end of the summer. Mm-hmm. So do it. Hit that button. It's not just us, which is, look, we're fabulous. We're amazing. But it's not just us on this channel. There's so much more for you to. There's actually the super cute Gilda Ramos in the adult department and Katie Carmody in the children's department. They did a language learning fun little story time, and they're reading the same book, and like Katie's reading in English and Gilda's reading it in Spanish. Nice, and it was super cute. And so if you need something to play for your kids and a little like bilingual, lesson, like language learning, it was very, very sweet. And I don't think they might have had a craft to go with it or something, but even if you don't have the supplies or whatever, it's still just a super cute video to watch. Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. Exactly. Just an example of all the other wonderful things that we have here on the channel. Mm-hmm. So hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. See some more stuff that we have here at the library. So that does it. So for Sarah Fade and Nicole Rambo, I'm Sal DiVincenzo. See you on the next show.